Hi, everybody. This is Dick and Lania this time. Sharon took the day off. She'll be with us next week. But we wanted to report on a play that Nia and I saw yesterday. We saw The Human Comedy, which just completed its run at Hollywood's David Shaw Theater, and it's put on by the Actors Co-op. It was a new theater to us and a delightful experience. It's one of those 99-seat equity theaters that you see around town that we especially like to go to. And the story is based on a novel by William Saroyan. It's a tale about a 14-year-old boy who's
14 and a half.
14 and a half, yes, as we hear repeatedly. His father recently died. His brother is off fighting World War II. And with them gone, he takes a job riding his brother's bicycle to deliver telegrams around town. But given that World War II is going on, at least some of those telegrams are death notices that he has to deliver to families in town. And that experience of doing that through the play helps him come of age and be the man of his house. And Nia, at the end of it, you leaped to your feet with a standing ovation, as did many people there. And you had tears in your eyes. You were really affected by it. Can you tell me why?
Yeah. Um, I am just about 30 years old, closer to 30 than I am to 29. And it wasn't too terribly long ago, at least in my own recollection of my life, when I was 14, 13, a young girl, and it connected with me and it impacted me so much. And like my dad said, I was in tears through almost the whole second half. Um, because especially in today's day and age, there is so much wrong and there's so much hurt around us. And it feels very, what's the word? It feels very impossible, I guess, or like just like it feels like there isn't much that can be done about it. And there's a lot of anger that comes with that. And unfortunately, the older generations, while they may have experienced that themselves as children, and I think we all have, whether we remember it or not, they are so far removed from it that it isn't quite as fresh as it is for the younger generations. And to have that feeling of, um, you know, being in a world where things are not where we necessarily want them to be, and that not being, my fault or our fault directly as a younger generation is really, really tough. And it's really, really hard. And on top of that, it was just such a powerful play. The story that was written, he starts 14 and a half, almost 16. Um, this 14 and a half year old boy, he's a child. He's excited for life. He's got plans and dreams and big hopes for the future. And he wants to support his family and he wants to be, do right by his brother and certainly by his father. And he has his first sort of run in with reality, I guess. I think a lot of us are used to that sort of, life kind of checking you a little bit and saying, hey, it's not going to go exactly as planned. And as a child, and a child in such a position of, I need to care for my family and I want to be there for all these things, um, is devastating. And add on top of that the fact that he realizes, like, he starts this job and he's so excited for it. He's ready, he's eager, and he starts having to deliver these death notices to people. And this 14-year-old boy then realizes that he's become the person who has to drop the weight of reality on other people in his community. This is based in a made up town, but set in California. And from what I could tell, it was meant to be sort of a smaller community, not necessarily like a little, three building village, but a small community. For the most part, everyone knew each other or knew of each other, family names and things like that. And so he knew some of these people personally. Siblings were in his class, siblings were in his brother's class, and he has to deliver these letters that their loved one, their their son, oldest son, isn't coming home. Um, and man, that's tough. That was really, really tough. My heart went out to this kid who was um, just trying to move his dreams forward, trying to be the person that he thought he wanted to be and follow his dreams. And life sort of said, hey, well, it's a dark world. And while he's delivering all these letters, some of them aren't necessarily death notices. There are good and happy birthdays and all these things, but some of the places that he has to go to, I think at one point he goes to essentially a brothel is essentially what it seemed like it was. And
Was.
this boy for the first time meets this woman who is a sex worker, and he doesn't quite understand what it is, but he very quickly gets the sense that this person is in danger, but they aren't doing anything about it, and so he has to sort of grapple with that. And just a lot of really really deep themes being talked about that I don't think we talk about enough in general. I don't think there is that acknowledgement of, at some point, all of us, we all go from innocent child to realistic adult, and that nexus point where that change happens.
Yeah, I think this play had kind of a different spirit in some sense. And in part, I mean, the theater was new to us. And Actors Co-op, I didn't really know what it was, but it turns out it's a company of Christian actors who perform with the idea of being messengers of the outreach of Christ's hope. And so there is a hopeful spirit to it. The Actors Co-op apparently has been around a long time, 29 years. It operates 2 99-seat equity theaters. And that's different from other theaters that we go to. It's placed in the First Presbyterian Church of Hollywood. So one thing that hit me with the death notice is it kind of triggered me because I'm a veteran, and it put me in mind of some soldiers that I saw get killed. Now, I never saw anybody deliver a death notice, but certainly I saw people get killed. And I also remember the letter that I wrote from the Army hospital back to my dad to tell him that even though I was wounded, I was okay. And so I sort of got distracted by the theater. But what did you think of the performance of the actors and the theatricality? We talked about that at dinner afterwards. Do you have some thoughts on that?
Astounding. The stage was really unique in that they had this large rotating center portion in it. So there was the whole stage, and then in the middle was this big circular rotating platform. So that was really interesting. They were doing all sorts of fun stuff on that. And the set itself was actually very, very, very simple. But they were still able to create, I think, 5 or 6 unique spaces with it. And then they interchanged them and created different flows. On top of that, I have to say the chemistry of these actors was some of the best I've ever seen. These actors were so in sync with each other. It was beautiful. And the choreography that we saw, there were some really, really unique decisions made. Like, I don't know if you remember the relay scene where they pick people up to show that they were jumping over, I guess, hurdles of some sort. And it was just, phenomenal staging, excellent directing, excellent direction. Even the lighting and sound effects were really well done. Very minimal, but with maximum outcome. That's the word I'm looking for.
So for me, I mean, I'm not sure I got the right word, but it's the theatricality. They do a pretend high hurdle race with the 6 guys, and the way they do it, and then they hold them up in the air and it freezes a pose like it's somebody going over a hurdle. And then the boy, the 14-and-a-half-year-old boy, runs at the audience, but he runs in place. I mean, that was a hell of a role for him. I mean, he must have worn himself out. I too thought I mean, a lot of actors. I think it was 13, and I think they played two dozen different roles. So they would come back and And then sometimes you could tell, oh, that was a person, but like the hooker was also the younger sister, was
Mhm.
also
Augie.
a 12-year-old boy, and you had to remember, oh yeah, that's who that is. It was beautifully done. I
It
wanted to
was.
say, there was a talk back afterwards, and we stayed and listened, and it was the final performance. So a lot of people in the audience had some role in the audience in the play. But one of the actors said the way the play came about, William Saroyan wrote it. He's a famous Armenian American author from last century, and he delivered a 250-page screenplay to MGM that would have been a 4.5-hour movie, and they rejected the screenplay. They rejected him, so he went home, and before they produced their movie, he produced a novel, the same novel on the same screenplay. The novel became a big hit. The play became a big hit. So I mean, so that was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, too, because I think that just shows how meaningful the content is, how meaningful the story is, how true it is that we've all grown up at some point. We've all gone from child to adult at some point in our adolescence, and I think this highlights that for everybody, regardless of how old you are, regardless of your walk of life. I think that's just a testament to that. And like my dad said, unfortunately, that was the last showing. I was heartbroken when I learned that. I was ready to buy my next ticket to see it one more time. Um,
Yeah,
hopefully they'll bring it back, but it's certainly worth checking out. I believe there's a movie and the book and all of that, because it is just a wonderful story about innocence and growing up, and also dealing with grief, and um, learning to rely on those around you to rest your weight on when you need to.
yeah. They in the talkback, the cast was asked if there would be future performances of it, and they said that would be great, but it's pretty hard for 13 actors to line up their schedules for a month, and so it seems kind of doubtful. It seems like with 13 actors, that's for one of these small theaters, that's a pretty expensive proposition.
Mhm.
But you mentioned the rotating stage. They had a big rotating, so one set would be on one side of the screen, and then they'd rotate it, and here would be the telegraph office, and then rotate it again, and it would be outside someplace.
Yep.
Very clever. So we're going to go see the next play, which is already started. It's called Tornado, and it tells of a college student at a Christian college and a corporate lawyer from New York City rushed to Oklahoma to help with cleanup after a tornado. Very different personalities, different perspectives, and then up comes a Chick-fil-A truck, and the history of Chick-fil-A and anti and homophobia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that must be the crux of this coming play. It doesn't really say so, but they mention it's a Chick-fil-A truck, so that must be it. So that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if we talked about after the show that do they always have that rotating stage? It seems like they probably do, because it would have been a lot to build it for the one show. So maybe they do. Anyway, any final thoughts?
I wish I had a time machine so we could go back and recommend every single person who sees this video go see it. Aside from that, oh wow, I'm excited to see more from the co-op. I'm excited to see if any of the actors we saw in this show are in other shows. We weren't, I don't know if you found out more, Dad, but we weren't really sure yesterday when we were talking about it, if is it the same pool of actors and they all just choose what shows they want to do, or how it goes. So that'll be
No.
interesting
They
to me
said in
too.
their literature, they've said there's like 60 members. So there's like 60 actors,
Oh,
and
okay.
you can actually, I went up to the website, and you can apply to join the cast, or you can be an intern. So it probably rotates. And and the crux of it was that these are Christian actors promoting a message of hope with Christ, although if they didn't tell you that, you wouldn't necessarily know that from yesterday's performance. It isn't
no.
like they beat you over the head and pass the tray around afterwards.
Absolutely not. And I'm greatly appreciative of that.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun, Nia, and we'll report, and we'll drag Sharon along to the next one, and we'll see how it goes.
Yes.
So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.